what is invisible fencing? An invisible fence is a barrier boundary training program for dogs. Essentially, it's a collar that goes on the dog that wirelessly transmits to a receiver that is attached to a wire that is buried in the ground. And the dog cannot cross that wire without receiving a shock, or as they like to call it, a stimulation from the collar. Um, Generally speaking, most of these devices give the dog a warning when they start to reach that barrier. A sound will go off in the collar to allow the dog to know that they are getting too close to the barrier. The key with any sort of invisible fence program is training, 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 training. You must train your dog to the barrier to get the full and maximum effect out of it. Otherwise, the dog will not understand what is going on and will just freak out. Invisible fences are also not for all dogs. Some dogs that are particularly bullheaded will power their way through the boundary line and ignore the shock until they're past the boundary and the shock stops. And other dogs, I've even seen other dogs that will basically go close enough to the boundary till they hear the sound in the collar, and then they'll run the battery out by making the sound, and then once the sound stops, they proceed going wherever they want to go. So dogs can be smart and they can be tricky, and make sure you train. Training is the key. This visible fence is simply a reminder to the dog of his training.